So welcome all for the to the class. We will start in few minutes now. We are waiting for other folks to join. Okay. So let me start the session and then I'll hand it over to Palul. So those who have joined yesterday, like this particular project-based training is around 30 to 35 hours. Okay, maximum it will go till 40 hours. But then depending upon your student base, how they are understanding, but then approximately we'll invest 35 hours, okay, of knowledge transfer session where we will cover many projects and we'll get around minimum 3 years of working experience. The knowledge experience we'll get. Okay. So in this process, we'll be creating CV, implementing our CV, and then applying for job. It's very simple process. There are three-step process. First, we'll create our CV according to DevOps engineer. Then we'll try to implement that CV and start applying for job. So there is no coding language required. This is the fastest way to get into a very good salaried job. Okay, both in India or US. Okay, Kalol is in India. He's working in for a multinational company. I'm in US. I know the two markets. I can't comment on UK or any other market, but in these two countries, okay, and Canada, mostly there are a lot of DevOps jobs, and we can comment on that. So you can also even search in Naukri profile in India and Dice in US or Indeed, and you will see lot many profiles are there. Okay, approximately in Atlanta where I stay, it will be like around 120, 130 k the salary range. Okay, so it's a job ready course. So what does that mean? Means you need to complete the project, whatever we are going to cover. You take, so we will cover 1 hour, you will give your own time, 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on your understanding. Okay, but then we will teach you from scratch, from zero level, so that you can implement the project by your own. There will be no help you will require. You will be doing that project by seeing our how we explained it. So this will be live class. We'll explain that, we'll record it, we'll give it to you. Okay, and then you will do it in your home. So the process is, you'll come to the class, we will do live project implementation from scratch, nothing will be there, and from nothing it will be lot of things, and then you will have to do those things parallelly with us and implement it. Okay, that's the plan. So there are multiple tools here involved, like Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Docker Hub. Okay, and tech stacks like Apache Web Server, and Apache Tomcat. Okay, and then there are other utilities like Git. Then we will use other utility like Maven. Okay, there will be also GitHub is a repository. We will try to use this particular tool. There are multiple tools and technology we will try to use, like Terraform we will use, Ansible we will use, okay, and Kubernetes we will use, New Relic we will use, all these things. Okay, but with respect to some project. So our main task will be to implement this capstone project, which we'll be discussing today. We'll try to explain you some architecture diagrams of this capstone project, where you will set up the Kubernetes cluster. You will deploy using Jenkins in the Kubernetes cluster. You will monitor the Kubernetes cluster. You will understand, okay, how to do the rolling update. Okay, what do you mean by rolling update? Means there is some change. Maybe there is some sales happening and then there is a change happening. So how will you do that rolling update through the Docker image and all these things with the help of with the help of a very good project diagrams, like 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 we have shared some project diagrams, okay, yesterday. We also have shared a lot of lot of interview questions yesterday we discussed in our class. um, so we will be going through that as well today, um, at the end, so that you will understand better, okay. So ultimately, our goal is to complete the project, understand the DevOps. So you as a DevOps engineer, what will be your roles and responsibilities in a company? How exactly you will be working day to day life when you go and work in a company? Those things we will discuss. We'll implement those things, and if you need any help, you will have to ask that in our Slack channel. So there'll be a Slack channel where we have multiple students, those who are asking questions, those who are getting job. Okay, so people are, a lot of examples are there, they are getting job, and you also have to follow those examples so that you get job, okay. Yeah, so these are the things, guys. Okay, cool, thank you. Let us begin with the class today. I would like to invite Mr. Kallol, who is going to proceed with the class. Thanks, Kallol, for taking the class. um like you help Pawan and other people to get a job, so you um, I hope these folks will be also getting help. Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is Kalol here. I'm going to be your DevOps trainer on this AWS infrastructure course. So yesterday we have discussed a few details about the way the project is going, the incrementally the projects are going to be implemented. So I'll do a quick recap. Here, the idea here is to train you on real-time continuous integrated and continuous deployment projects. So we will do it incrementally. We will start from scratch and gradually we will proceed further with this. So let me do a quick recap. So
हाँ
this has been discussed yesterday.
हाँ,
So
ते कैलास नाट्याच्या बाजूला राहते हो कुठे आहे ना
okay, I request all of you to kindly be on mute. Right. So what is this course about? Let's discuss the glide path here. So we are discussing continuous integration and continuous deployment projects. There will be multiple projects. So yesterday I have discussed, like we will start initially with an application server called Tomcat. In that, we are going to use tools like Git, GitHub, Jenkins, Maven, Tomcat. So once again, as a recap, GitHub is going to be your code repo. This is where you store the code. Okay, developers, when they write code, multiple developers will be writing code at the same time. So GitHub will be the web-hosted code repository tool that we are going to use, wherein the code will be shareable by all the team members in the software development team. Jenkins is going to be our continuous integration server. Somebody has to manage the integration. So Jenkins is the tool that we are going to use. Maven will be our build tool. When I say build tool, that means developers will be writing multiple code files, but then they all have to be integrated and put into a binary format. That is how that will be the actual file which will be deployed on an application server called Tomcat. So Maven is going to give us the build. In our case, it is going to be Java-based project. So that is why the output will be a war file. So let me show that to you by with diagram. So Git will be your source code management tool that we are going to learn. All of these new names that you are hearing, Maybe you are already acquainted with it. We will be learning all these tools from scratch. So don't worry if you are not able to understand all the things. This is just a demo course, a demo session, wherein you are just being introduced to the to the concepts that you are going to learn. So Git is going to be your source code management, and GitHub is going to be your remote repository where you're going to store the code. Once all the code has been pushed into GitHub, so here the developers, so there'll be multiple developers. So let's say developer 1, developer 2, they can be working from anywhere in the world. So on their local systems, they will have Git installed in their local system. We will do all of these installations, configuration, all of this stuff we will be learning from scratch. But then all the developers will be pushing their code into the remote repository called GitHub. So what happens after that? After that, Jenkins is going to be your CI server or continuous integration server. We will understand later on in detail what that integration actually means. This understanding this continuous integration is something that will be spanning across the course. Okay, it is not a one-time activity. This is something that continuously happens, hence the name continuous integration. So using Jenkins as the continuous integration server, we will be constantly integrating the various other tools and other computer systems that we will be interacting with. So Jenkins is going to pull all that code from GitHub. And then it is, because this is a Java-based project, the build tool that we are going to use is Maven. So Maven is the name of the tool, and it is from Apache is the name of the company which produces, which maintains this tool, owns this tool. So Maven will actually give us a build artifact. This war file is your build artifact. This is the actual code file that you require. This is in binary format. Okay, we will also learn what Maven is as we proceed with the course. It is something that we will learn step by step. This war file, then we are going, once Maven builds the project, this war file will be present in a particular location. So that is a Jenkins, that is called a workspace. It is nothing but a separate folder. So inside that workspace, when that war file is available, then Jenkins will send that war file, follow the arrow here, to another server. This is going to be a server. That means we are going to create a new computer system for this. Okay, this is going, and in that, this is going to be your application server. This is where we are going to install the software called Tomcat. Again, this Tomcat software is also provided by and maintained by Apache. Apache is merely the name of the company. So here I had actually discussed yesterday that Git and GitHub are not the same thing. They are two separate things. So GitHub is owned by Microsoft, by the way. So this war file will then, Jenkins will send this war file to the Apache Tomcat server, and that is where it will get deployed. That is called deployment. So initially we will start with these steps. But then later on, we will introduce another important tool for container management that is called Docker. So in the previous CI/CD pipeline, this is called a pipeline. When you create this entire thing and you automate this stuff, everything will, when it happens automatically, this is called an automated CI/CD. CI stands for continuous integration and CD stands for continuous deployment. So here we are going to, CD can also be continuous delivery. So when the final deployment, when it requires human intervention, where finally somebody actually in person allows that code to be deployed, that is called continuous delivery. But here we are going to automate that stuff entirely. So the CD here is actually referring to deployment, continuous deployment. That is one important difference here. So in this part, we are going to, when we are going to do it in this, this first major project, when we are going to do in that, this Apache Tomcat server, we will actually have to download it, install it, configure it, and then check the service if it is up and running or not. All of these things have to be done manually in the beginning for that entire Apache Tomcat thing. But later on, as we proceed, we will introduce a containerization tool, which is heavily used, called Docker. Okay, so using Docker, we will have something called, we will pull a Tomcat image directly. Okay, so from that, we will have our Tomcat server running directly. Yes, we will have to do a little bit of configuration, but then we will not need to do the entire stuff of downloading and installing and then other basic configuration on Tomcat from scratch. This will be ready-made available. So this is how you are gradually moving from doing things manually into an automated manner. Now, there are few major components when you use Docker. So for example, there is something called Docker file. So here we will write code where instructions will be given to Docker. And then using the Docker file, we will create an image. And from the image, we will create the container. This is at a high level. Don't worry if you are not able to understand, because when I will teach Docker, I will be teaching the concepts from scratch. So inside that container, we will have our Tomcat running. And we will write the Docker file configuration in such a way that this Tomcat server inside the container will also include the war file, which we discussed earlier. This particular file. Okay, because this is the binary code. This is what contains the code which will allow your website to run. So we will do it in such a manner that the war file this time will already be incorporated into the Tomcat server. And that Tomcat server will be running inside a container. Okay, so, and then initially these steps again will be manual, but then we will integrate it with Jenkins, and then we will make Jenkins do that entire thing. And then finally, so at the end of every major project, the objective is to completely automate our instructions. So the final step again, so this is again a different project that you are seeing here now, different major project. So in that again, whatever things, all these steps which we have done manually till now, they will be, finally you will have to automate it. That is the primary task. So let's see that image. So this is what we have in the earlier part. This is what has been covered. But now, instead of this Apache Tomcat, which was downloaded and manually installed, this will be changed and replaced by Docker. Okay, that is the primary difference. But just to do this step, you will have to understand how Docker works, what Docker commands are, and then how we will ultimately implement it in a automated CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so all of these things together, they are actually called, they constitute something called a pipeline. Okay, one by one, things are incorporated and they are integrated with each other. Who is integrating? This Jenkins server. Okay, so moving on. In real-time environment, when you work with multiple systems, many a times it becomes necessary to do the configuration in such a manner that all the systems have the same configuration for the same task. You have to ensure that. So for example, if you have like the Docker software installed, and it is installed in, let's say, 20 machines. Now, so Docker currently version 1 is being used, but some new update has come up and Docker is moved on to version 2. Now, these 20 machines now have version 1 of Docker software installed in them. Now we need to update it to version 2. So the traditional method is you have to log into each machine and you have to do this step 20 times. Do the update commands 20 times. Now, what if it is 20 machines itself is a tedious job to do? What if it is 50 machines? What if it is 1,000 machines? So that is where we will then introduce another software that is the next level, which is called Ansible. So Ansible is actually a configuration management tool. So using Ansible, even if you have got 20 machines, so all these 20 machines, they can be configured. So like this is M1, M2, M20, 20 machines are there. So using one single computer in which Ansible will be installed, all these multiple machines can be upgraded, or whatever configuration change you want to make, they can be done at the same time. That is the concept of Ansible here. And using Ansible, we are going to, so whatever we did on Docker earlier, we will still be using Docker, but this time we are going to create the image not in Docker node, but rather in the Ansible node. And then we are going to introduce, so let me jump to the diagram here. So this is what was the last stage. So now we are still going to use Docker, but this time we are going to replace it with, because there is, we want to be able to manage multiple systems from a single machine. That is why we are introducing this configuration management tool called Ansible. So the way it will work is, Ansible is going to interact. So Ansible will get integrated into Jenkins. The Docker node will be integrated into Ansible, but then we will create our own images. So for that, there is another repository. Just like GitHub is your code repository for storing code, the Docker Hub. So Docker and Docker Hub are not the same thing. They are related, but they are different. Docker Hub is going to be your image repository, or you can call it registry. Repo is short for repository, okay, or you can call it registry. Later on, I will discuss like what is the difference between registry and repo. So using Ansible, you are going to create the image and send it to, sorry, my bad here. So here you are going to create the image and you are going to push it into Docker Hub. From Docker Hub, then you are going to pull that image. So here you are going to pull that image. And then from Ansible, you are going to send a command to Docker to run the container. Once the container is running, that means your Tomcat is running. And that Tomcat will already have this WARF inside it. And once that is up and running, that literally means your, okay. So all of these things gradually we will learn step by step how to do. Now, in this earlier example, you have one container running on the Docker node. But what if the Docker node fails? What if the container fails? Then your website will be down. Okay, that is called downtime. You must have received, like in your mobile, if you are using banking apps, for example, you might receive SMS messages or WhatsApp messages wherein they say that from maybe during the weekend from this time to this time at night, 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning, the application will not be available. Okay, so that is called downtime. So basically that means the user will not be able to use the app. Now in this architecture, the problem is if the container is down, there is no way of reviving the container. If and even a worst case scenario, if the computer on which the containers are running, if they are also down, then again, the entire website is down. So now in the we will introduce Kubernetes, that container orchestration tool.
So before
That
we
is the
go to this
major difference.
Kubernetes thing, before we go to the Kubernetes thing, I would like to ask some questions from the previous diagram to everyone. Can you go back to that diagram, Kallol? Okay. Yeah. Just to create an interest, guys. So here, guys, there are a lot of people asking a lot of questions in the chat window, but then what is the functionality of an Ansible here? Can anybody answer that? What do you think what Ansible is going to do here in this project? Anyone? Let me give an access to unmute. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the Ansible will push the Docker file into Docker Hub.
Push the Docker file into Docker Hub? No,
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, may I?
no. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like if you have like multiple machines in your client side, for an example, 100 or more. So at the same time, we have to implement any of the functionality. For an example, we have to make upgradation on the Docker from version 1 to version 2 with a single playbook command. We just can implement all this at the same time on the 100 of the like our client machine or the server side.
Yeah, we can do that. That is okay. We can do that. But then that is like, think that we don't have to do it in multiple node. We just need to do in one node in this architecture because that's our second architecture diagram, which is in Kubernetes, where we have multiple nodes. Okay.
Okay.
So in this architecture diagram, what is the purpose of this architecture diagram, guys? Mainly, think that you are a developer. Rajesh is a developer. Think. And Rajesh is a Java developer. And now Rajesh is developing multiple Rajesh is developing multiple times and then he is committing the code locally in his laptop. So what Rajesh is doing, Rajesh is opening Visual Studio Code, he's changing something, he's saving it, pushing it to GitHub, changing it, pushing it to GitHub. Okay, fine. He's changing it like that. But then he need to test that also, right? How will he test? He need to test that through a browser. Where will he create that browser? Okay, means where will he test that? He can have that particular architecture diagram. Maybe in his own local, he can build that and open the website locally and test in his own browser that okay, everything is good or not. If whatever he is developing is good or not. Okay, in those kind of scenario, this architecture diagram is used. Where what you are doing, you are pushing the code till GitHub. Jenkins will pull the code. Maven will build the code. Var file will create. The final product is created, and then you will push that var file, which is the final product. Maybe you will keep that file in S3, or maybe you will keep it in Nexus, a JFrog Artifactory, wherever you keep it. Wherever you want, you can keep that. Okay, so it's like a go down. Like okay, your final product is created, and then you will keep it in some place, which is okay till this okay. But then this is still the development mode. Okay, Rajesh is just pushing the things in the development branch, not in the master branch. So I'm using all these words, right? Master branch, development branch. Let me quickly share my screen if I can show you all. Okay, so what I'm saying, guys, here you see, think that you have multiple developers. Okay, like one, these are three developers. So Rajesh, Sangamitra, Pawan, these are three developers. Okay, currently in a company. Rajesh is working in US time, Sangamitra is working in US time, and one more by Pawan is working in India time. So now what is happening? They are pushing the code to GitHub. They are all working in their own personal laptop, right? On their personal laptop, they will use Visual Studio Code. So there is one VS Code, one software. They will develop things and then they will commit the code and then finally they will push the code. Where they will push the code to GitHub. Okay, GitHub. Let me show you the GitHub thing here. Okay, let me show you GitHub first. Here they will push. Think they will push here. Okay, this is GitHub where they are going to push things. Here you see we have pushed multiple Terraform chart and all those things, right? All those things we have pushed. Suppose here only developers are also pushing. They can push things here. They're changing and pushing it, changing and pushing it every day and night, which is good. Now, once they change and push here in this GitHub, okay, now something should run. What will run? Jenkins will run. And Jenkins will do what? It will build with the help of Maven. So Jenkins will use Maven, one tool, okay, and Maven will do what? It will build it. So what is the steps of build? Yesterday we discussed what are the three steps, main three steps of build, phases of build. Tell me.
Sir, clone the code from GitHub.
Now, what are the three main phases of the build? Maven, three phases of the build. First, it is going to do what? Yesterday we discussed Maven will validate the code. Then what it will do?
Convert
Compile
human
the
language
code,
into machine language.
right? And then
binary artifact.
package the code. Now there is one more step, phase. Okay, there are multiple phases, but then we will share you all those phases there. Okay, but then these are some main critical phases. And then Maven can also deploy the code to JFrog, Nexus, or directly to Tomcat. That also Maven can do. Okay, but then we are not talking about this deploy thing for now. Forget this.
Sir,
These are three main. Okay, validate, compile, package. Who will do? Maven will do. But who will trigger Maven?
Jenkins, sir.
Jenkins.
Jenkins. Jenkins will trigger. So now, are you getting any clue what is happening? Developers are developing the code. What is happening? GitHub is, and they are pushing the code to GitHub because all these guys are working in different shift, right? US shift, India time. They are all working in their own personal laptop. So they are saving multiple versions. They are changing things. That is one version. Change is like if I do A to B, that is a change. Okay, and that is called one version of the website. So this is my website. If I change this learn with project, which you can see here, maybe if I do it in, it is like in one line. Okay, if I change these pictures, this is one change. That means one version of the code. Okay, so these developers are doing some versioning, change, and all these changes are present here in GitHub. All the changes. How can you see all the changes? You can go to the GitHub and then you can see here there are commits. If you click here, you will see all these are changes. How many times he has done change? 23 times he has done change. See,
Sir,
all these are
every
one
time,
version.
sir, every time uh,
Every
commit,
time they will do
commit is
change, every
lengthy
time one
process.
version will create. This is the
Rahul, sir.
version ID. Go ahead.
Hello, Rahul, sir.
I'm audible. Am I audible?
Oh, yes, sir. I am audible, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, this is safe, sir. Developer, if change the code, every time he used to use git command to commit, it's a lengthy
Git
process.
command to commit.
We have job
Yes.
in Jenkins now, sir, like Git webhooks. If developer modified anything, automatically modified in GitHub.
No, that is wrong. If developer will modify, how will it modify it in GitHub? That webhook is in Jenkins. Means you will create a webhook to the GitHub URL. That means this you have to do. Till this
Okay, sir.
developer need to do. This is mandatory. They need to push. They need to commit. Am I making sense? If they do any change, GitHub will not be automatically updated. They are doing change in their laptop and they need to push it. And you don't want it also. You don't want automatic. If you do automatic, then if they by mistake they are doing something by mistake they did commit, that will automatically go to GitHub and automatically Jenkins pipeline will do and everything will mess up, right? The website will show some wrong data, which we don't want. We don't want that much automation. Am I making sense? So what developer will do, and they will commit to their local laptop. Think like my developer will is like a manufacturing unit. They will develop something, they will create something and keep there in their own local godown. Each is one company, and they will develop something and keep it in their own godown. And finally, they will push it to the remote godown, a central godown. And finally, it will be copied by Jenkins. That is called fetch. So Jenkins will have 3 steps. Fetch. What is the other step? Build and then deploy. These are the 3 major steps of any CI architecture, CI/CD architecture. 3 steps. Fetch, build, deploy. Fetch the code. This fetch can happen through webhook. Making sense? Whatever you told, Sheikh. Okay, this fetching can happen through webhook. As soon as it is pushed, Jenkins will identify, or GitHub will identify that there is a change, and GitHub will push. GitHub will trigger the Jenkins job, not push. GitHub will trigger the Jenkins job, and then Jenkins job will fetch the data, fetch the version, fetch the changes, build it using Maven, deploy it, and what it will do? Deploy means it will deploy it to the server. Now, this server which we are talking, which Kalol is explaining, that this server which is there, this server can be either a virtual machine, or what it can be Docker. So what is the difference between virtual machine and a Docker? We will see. But virtual machine is what? It is just a machine, okay, where you have its own operating system, kernel. When I say operating system, is kernel, the base kernel, like Windows. If you want, go and purchase a laptop from Costco, or from, suppose, big budget, like from Reliance in India. Okay, so what will happen? It will have the operating system installed in it. That is having the kernel. Okay, that is having some size, maybe 2 GB, 3 GB. Some Windows operating system, some size will be there. That operating system will have its own kernel. Okay, kernel will be there. Docker will not have its own kernel. No. Okay, it will is like a parasite. It will use the host operating system kernel. So it is very lightweight. So that's why we will use this Docker. But then this Docker, the architecture diagram which Kallol was showing, that architecture diagram you can utilize for unit testing purpose. It's a very good example for unit testing purpose. In our company, most of the developers, every developer will use that unit testing purpose. Okay, so why they will use that? Because someone told Ansible will push the Docker file to Docker Hub. But no, it is somewhat right. But then it will not push the Docker file. But then what it will push? It will create. Ansible will do what? It will
Ansible
create the Docker image first. How it will create the Docker image?
by
Using
using
Docker
Linux,
file.
sir.
And then it will push it to Docker Hub. So we will see all these things. Okay, how to create a Docker image, how to push the Docker, how to push it to Docker Hub. Now, what are the tools we can use? Okay, can we do this directly with Jenkins? There are 200 ways we can do this. Maybe directly we can use Jenkins plugin to do that. Maybe we can use Ansible plugin to do this. Okay, Ansible will call Jenkins, Ansible will call ultimately Docker. So there are multiple ways we can do this, which we will do in our project. And we will see which one is good, which one is not good process. But then ultimately, this is the main thing. Here, server can be virtual machine, can be Docker. Now, Docker means only one node, one Docker is running. But then if that Docker is down, everything will be down, right? This is not a production architecture. Means I cannot run my website there. My website is a production instance. Why? Because why am I saying it's a production? Because it's live. This is in this, like I am opening from this browser and I can purchase any course. All of my students can do that. So it's a live thing. Correct? It is live. Lot of students can go and enroll, free registration and all these things you can see, they can do that. You can open from phone, I can open from phone. It is accessible from entire world. So it's a production. It's not for test purpose. It's not a development environment. So that project of Docker is a development project. Okay. If you are not talking, please be on mute. Shake. Okay, you are forgetting. You have to keep yourself on mute. I know you're excited, you're asking questions, but then please be on mute because it's live. Okay. Let me remove the unmute access. Cool. So guys, this is what it is. The server technology will change from virtual host from virtual machine to Docker, and then these Dockers, it is like one node as we told. Then we will see how to containerize this how to orchestrate this Docker using an orchestration tool like which is Kubernetes. How can we have multiple Docker containers running in multiple different servers? Like 200 servers will be there, and all those Docker containers will be running like see Netflix. When you watch Netflix movie, one Docker container will be created where it is running. Maybe it's running in one server, but then there are so many guys seeing what movie, right? For everyone there will be a Docker container. So like Netflix will create multiple servers, and all those multiple servers will scale automatically as more and more Docker containers are there, as the server load is increasing. Okay, so now let's discuss. Let's go for the next architecture diagram which Kallol will explain, and then I will ask more questions from there. Yeah, thanks, Kallol.
So yeah, continuing here, the idea here is actually to replace this because we want something called availability, high availability. There should be zero downtime. There should be failover in case the one Docker node crashes or the container rendering the website crashes. This has to be taken care of automatically. So that is where the concept of Kubernetes as a software, this is going to be your container orchestration tool. Okay, big words, I know, but when it's a complicated software, but we will learn this from scratch. Okay, so Kubernetes is something which uses, it is meant to be deployed, unlike the other softwares that we have been using, that we came across till now. They were only installed on each system individually. Whereas Kubernetes is not like that. Kubernetes deployment happens over a cluster. So there will be multiple machines here, more than one machine. Okay. So here you have to understand, like, this is just I'm just giving you a high level overview. So like understanding what orchestration is, this will happen gradually. There are multiple things that I need to explain. So when you will go through the Kubernetes class, then there I will actually, and before doing that, even you will have to get used to these other tools, how they are interacting with each other. So that orchestration overall, in short, if I have to say what orchestration is, earlier there was one container, or you can have multiple containers. So container 1, container 2, container 3, all of them. So what we started with was, first we installed Tomcat on one system. Okay, so this was on M1. But then, and from that, we were running the website. But each in will require a machine. That is going to increase costs. So if you need 10 different Tomcat applications for testing, development, or whatever, then you will need 10 machines. So your cost directly increases tenfold. That is where Docker came into the picture. So using Docker, what you can do is you install Docker in one machine only, on a single machine. And in that single machine, you create multiple containers, C1, C2, C3. How many containers you can run on a single machine will depend on the CPU, the RAM of the stronger the machine, the more RAM, the more CPU it has, the more hard disk it has, the more number of containers you can create. But here, so for example, if I just need to create 3 containers, I don't have to create 3 separate machines. It will be one Docker machine, and independently, all these containers will be independent of each other. Okay. But then if the Docker container itself fails, the Docker node, the machine where Docker is installed, if that itself fails, then all your containers will go down. So that is a problem here. So to solve that, we use Kubernetes. That is a later advanced software. And Kubernetes is deployed on a cluster. So that means multiple machines. So how many machines Kubernetes will require? If one container is down, automatically it will create another container. If one node is down, then it will create another machine. So that is the advanced software called Kubernetes. That is what orchestration actually means. It will automatically do a health status check. If the health of any one container is down, it will delete that container and it will create a new container. So yes, that is correct, Sheikh, what you are asking. So ultimately, when we are going to deploy our code through Kubernetes, we will not have to bother about these number of containers and number of nodes. That is what this Kubernetes will orchestrate. Okay. Think of orchestration like it comes from the word orchestra. Okay, so so in orchestra there are multiple musicians. Someone is playing the piano, someone is playing the trumpet, someone is playing the flute. Now all these musicians are controlled by the conductor. There will be one person who keeps waving a wand, and he controls all the musicians. Okay, I'll show that picture once I end the slide. So that person is the orchestrator. So here Kubernetes is like that. It is orchestrating that entire CI/CD pipeline using various tools here. Of course, the CI part is being taken care of Jenkins, but apart from that, running the things after post-integration, not only post-integration, using Kubernetes, what will happen is, in the earlier architectures, if developers are pushing code, new code is coming, then the containers have to be created new. And when that happens, automatically the customer will face a downtime because the new code is getting deployed. But in Kubernetes world ecosystem, it does not happen like that. In Kubernetes, you will actually have a zero downtime. At the same time, when new code is being pushed, new containers are being built, the old containers will, till the time the latest container with the newest code is up and running, even a single container, till that time, the old containers will still be rendering the website. But obviously, it will be the old code. But the idea here is customer will not face any downtime. So just for example, the major tech companies like Google, Amazon, Facebook, every minute globally on an average, so not every 2 or 3 minutes, they actually keep applying new code. But when you are using Facebook, or when you are using Google or any of the products of Google, you don't even realize it. You don't see that the page cannot be found messages coming up. Okay, so that is called a continuous deployment with zero downtime. But new code is getting injected. So that is where Kubernetes actually is going to orchestrate that entire thing. In that, then you will come across many new terms like pod, service. These are Kubernetes terms. Deployment, service files, manifest files, all of this we will learn in Kubernetes. Okay. So basically, this is going to be your primary capstone project. Okay. So let me actually jump into the, so here, what you're going to do is you're going to build the image file on Ansible, but you're going to deploy using Kubernetes. So the image will be something like this. This is what we will have achieved till this part. Okay. Moving forward, what is going to happen is something like this. So here the Docker node was there. Now we will not need any individual Docker node. We will give that entire responsibility to Kubernetes. Okay. So Kubernetes, in short, you can think of it like it is a operating system on cloud. Okay. But later on, it will I'll definitely be, I mean, like explaining that stuff. But before that, you need to know other things also. So this is actually going to be your capstone project. If you are able to implement this entire thing, that means you know Git, you know GitHub, you know Jenkins, you know what Apache Maven as a build tool does. You will know Ansible, you will know to use. So Docker is still going to be used. Okay. But in a very different way. During this time here, Docker will actually be installed, software will be installed on the Ansible here for creating the image and then pushing the into GitHub. But then Kubernetes will automatically pull that image. So that image is our custom image. Okay. When I say custom, it means in that image, there will be our custom Tomcat will already be configured. How? Using the Docker. I was speaking about Docker file. So we will write code in the Docker file to customize our Tomcat image. And not only that, the war file that will also be integrated into that server. It will be up and ready running. Okay. And then this custom image will be pulled by Kubernetes and then it will be deployed not on a single node, but on multiple nodes. Okay. So node 1, node 2, node 3. This is how you will, and they will be spread across various regions. That region thing I will discuss when I discuss about the Amazon cloud architecture. Okay. How Amazon actually works, because we are going to use the AWS services for this. And inside each node, there will be multiple containers. At the same time, they will be running. Okay. It will branch out like this. So there will be like C1, C2, C3, C4, all of these containers. So all of this thing will be orchestrated and managed by Kubernetes. We don't need to bother about it at all whatsoever. Okay. That is the power of Kubernetes. So let me discard this. So this is what your entire project, this course will encapsulate. Okay, this is what this course is about. And for using Kubernetes, we are going to use another Amazon service called EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service. Once you are done with the capstone project, then we will learn about Terraform, because by this time, writing all this code, we would have been doing the steps manually. So now how can we make it automated? By writing scripts, by writing manifest files. Okay. So for that, for provisioning new architecture, okay, that is where Terraform comes into picture. So till now, you have been using Kubernetes. Okay. You have moved till this part. So Kubernetes in short is also called K8s. Actually, it comes from this. So if you write the word Kubernetes like this, that is. So K and S, this is the first letter K and S is the last letter. In between, there are 8 characters. So that is how the name, in short, it is also called K8s, Kubernetes or K8s. So all of these things which we have done manually by writing code, all of that can be done by another provisioning tool that is called Terraform. Okay, so Terraform along with Ansible. Together, you are going to write this and this will completely automate your entire infrastructure, not just one server. So using Terraform, you can actually create a new machine what type of machine you want. And after the machine is launched, what kind of operating system, what kind of firewall will be there, what kind of which ports need to be opened. All of these things can be simply done using Terraform. Okay, what is the utility of Terraform? So tomorrow, if the company management say that we are not going to use AWS anymore, we want to use Microsoft Azure as cloud platform, then using the same Terraform configuration files, you can very easily switch over to a new cloud platform. Okay, so because this is going to be, if you have Kubernetes is a very complicated software, Rajesh. So as part of the beginner level, you should definitely start using EKS first. There are many other ways of creating cluster, but then the problem here will be you don't want to do things on your local machine unless your local machine is sturdy enough. As part of this course, you will have to, and in companies also, EKS in the long run is actually way more cheaper than maintaining your own cluster. Okay, because when you create a cluster, there are lots of other things involved as well, like security, load balancing. So all of that you will to write the thing on your own at a beginner level. That is high level Kubernetes administration. So that is you cannot do it at an entry level thing. It is not expected out of you, and you will not be able to do that. So
And the most
yes,
important, like Kubernetes upgrade. Now, if you want to do
hmm,
Kubernetes upgrade here, it's just one click done. That's it. But if you have to
but
do it in the
exactly.
instance level, you see again the separate project, separate billing.
You actually have to
If
do a separate certification course. Only you have to learn Kubernetes for that. So
someone
that
have
is
to learn.
something advanced that you are asking, Rajesh. So you should be able to first handle Kubernetes with a managed service, first of all. And regarding the cost, yes, that will be the only thing from Amazon which will be chargeable. But then I'll tell you, you will, for when you are doing practice, maybe for 2 or 3 hours every day. So during that time, so we will write the code in such a way that we will be writing our code. So that cluster creation, you will create the cluster before 20 minutes before you start, because Kubernetes cluster does not get created immediately. Once you create the cluster, it takes, depending on your region, depending on the AWS service bandwidth, it will take from somewhere around 10 to 20 minutes to get the cluster up and running. But then after that, you will have your Ansible YAML files, and with just 2 commands, immediately you can get your entire web server up and running. Okay. And once you are done with your practice, you will delete the cluster always. So how it has to be done for that? Again, there has to be a jump server that will be required. So in order to communicate with the Kubernetes cluster, so there will be a jump server using that. So that jump server will require additional IAM role. Okay, IAM is another service, Identity and Access Management Service from Amazon. So using that role, you have to give that role to the jump server. Otherwise, it will not allow you to create the. We will come across those errors, and then we will step by step we will rectify them. And using that, you will be communicating with the Kubernetes cluster on EKS. So yeah, that role has to be defined, and then we will have to. So while practicing 15-20 minutes before, you will create the cluster, and then after your practice is done, you have to remember to delete the cluster. So then because unlike other, we will use something called EC2 instance. Okay, EC2 instance is a computer in itself. Okay, so that is, you can start and stop it. So when you are not using it, as long as it is in a running state, till that time you will get charged. Okay, but then again we are going to use something called free tier. I will explain that free tier later on. It has got its limitation, but within that limitation, our practice will be enough, because every month you will get nearly 750 hours of computer usage. Okay, and apart from that, 30 GB of disk storage space. But The way you start and stop a EC2 instance, you cannot start and stop a cluster like that. Either you create a cluster, once a cluster is created, it will keep running, or else you delete a cluster. So I will teach you all of that using the how to do that using the jump server. So that is the idea here. And using Terraform and Ansible together, what you can do is you can automate all of this stuff. All the steps we will have done till now manually, all of that you can directly implement using a Terraform file and its help files. So that is called provisioning automation. So the Terraform is actually a provisioning tool primarily. You can also do configuration, and then I will teach you the difference, like when to use Terraform and when to use Ansible. So what Ansible can do, Terraform can also do, and vice versa. But these two tools are meant to be used together. Terraform is mainly created for doing provisioning, to create new infrastructure or to change existing infrastructure or to delete existing infrastructure. Whereas Ansible is actually a configuration management. When you already have a running infrastructure, if you want to make changes like creating backups, creating or upgrading systems or doing rollbacks or implementing a new software version, stuff like that, those configuration changes you will use Ansible. Okay, together Terraform, Ansible, and Kubernetes, they are a pretty strong software combination using which you will have zero downtime. Now, one key thing, so during the entirety of the course, Linux will definitely be used, and Linux is something that we will, in any DevOps environment, you will definitely need. So Linux is something that we will keep learning on the fly. And once you have done all of this, you will also need to check if everything is working fine or not. So for that, we have monitoring tools, application monitoring tools. So that monitoring will be done by using New Relic. That is what we will be covering as part of the course here. So there, apart from that, you will have to keep in mind there is security also. So the primary thing everybody will require is a new AWS account. I will share this document here. It has got its screenshots. How you can, so for people who already have it, it's fine. But make sure it is not more than 1 year old, because the free tier is only applicable for 1 year from the date it was created. Otherwise, it will be better if you create a new AWS account. So New Relic and Datadog both are monitoring tools, but then they are not the same thing, but they do the same purpose. Okay, they are competing software. New Relic, Datadog, Prometheus. So New Relic, Datadog, these are to a certain level you will be allowed to use it free, but then they are not open source code tools and they are not entirely free. But for the purpose of our course, to the extent that we require, we can actually use it freely. So you should definitely have a AWS account less than a year old. Otherwise, you will anything you use in AWS, you will get charged. So I will share this document shortly. Please make sure that you are part of the WhatsApp group, because that is where I'm going to post this document. So here the detailed steps are there. Now I already have a AWS account. So you can just, it will be in a PDF format, or else you can open it in the browser also. So here, whatever error message possible you will get, I have mentioned that here. Okay. So here you cannot bypass the steps, because it will ask for a debit card or a credit card, working debit card, credit card. And make sure that the card that you are using for your verification purpose, billing purpose, make sure it has got online access. Make sure you are that you will have to check with your bank. Okay, that we will not be able to help you with. So if it is disabled by your bank, so if you log into your account online, then you should be able to change that. Different banks have different procedures. Check with your bank if you are getting an error. Okay, if it is rejecting the billing, you'll have to give a proper address. And then, because what will happen is Amazon will deduct a very small amount of money just to check that giving your card is nothing but it is just a verification that Amazon is doing, that these are genuine customers. Okay. So I will share this document, and later on, once you create the document, I will also, it is very important to implement something called IAM, identity access management. So here, so do not bypass these steps which are mentioned here. Okay, so here once you have a working Amazon account, all the screenshots are given here. But maybe because Amazon keeps changing, little bit difference might come up. Okay, so you will definitely need a email and a working phone number and a working debit or credit card on which online access is allowed. So make sure you use that and choose these options. Okay, the free support basic plan. Okay, only go for the free version here. That will be good enough for your learning. So once you are done with this, so people already who have account, kindly make sure that you check when you created the account. Because if it is more than a year old, then you will, every instance you create, every service you use, you will get charged. So you will not get that 750 hours leverage. And then once your account is there, this part I will teach in the class. Okay, so how you will create a IAM account. And then because you are not supposed to use your root account, that is a security breach. Okay, so these things I will discuss in
So
next
guys,
class.
what exactly you have to do, because we are going to start our main class. This is just a demo where we exactly trying to explain you the projects which we are going to cover, the capstone project, the integration of all those tools like Amazon EC2, like Amazon Cloud Services, Ansible, Terraform, and then EKS mainly, okay, and New Relic. So all these tools are main tools which you will be learning, along with uh, the prerequisite kind of tools, which is like Linux, Tech Stack, Jenkins. These are all some tools which you have to know. Means if you are coming to DevOps, these are like some steps, tools which you should be knowing. There is no escape. ये तो आना ही आना ऐसा. Okay, I'll
Also,
just
this
use.
is one of the sample architecture diagrams that we are going to use.
Correct. So there are a lot of sample, like a lot of project diagrams which are there, which we'll be sharing with you, all of you. So this is one of the project diagram where we will integrate so many things together
Yeah, this is
so
just
that
one
you
of the
can
project.
actually showcase this kind of project to your you can in your CV and can tell all these things in your interview. Basically, we need to be sure enough when we go for interview that okay, we have done some project, not just we heard a project, we know this thing, we know that thing. Okay, like there are a lot of people are asking some basic questions. They might have some idea, but then they're not having clear understanding, okay, which we don't want you to be be aware of. So basically project diagrams are very important that you should draw by your own if you want, or we do already have it. You can see that first, try to implement that like a build team. Or you will think that you are a part of a build team. Like in our company or my company, there is a build team, okay, who build all these things. So now you will be part of that build team who has got this particular diagram from a solution architect. And then now as a build team, you need to you need to understand that architecture diagram which is here, and now build it with the help of Terraform, with the help of Ansible, with the help of Jenkins, or whatever it is mentioned here, Docker, all these things you should be doing by your own. And you can tell that same thing in your interview. Okay, as a part of my build team, I was implementing this. Okay, so this is what you have to gain. So now I'll just share my screen and explain you the process of enrolling the course before you ask for some questions. Let me uh, yeah. Okay, 1 minute. So this is one of the project diagram mode which we will be doing, um, where we have an EKS cluster in the AWS. Okay, so I was just showing you the enrollment process. Give me a few minutes. I'll just show that first to all of you so that it is easier for all of you. Okay, let me present. So, so this is our project name. Our company name is Learn with Project, LWP Labs. Okay, where we will be trying to teach things with the help of project. If you see here, we will give you CV once you enroll for the course, the CV you will be getting which is aligned with the projects which we are going to teach you. What you will be doing, you will be implementing the CV with us, and then finally we will try to apply for the job. Okay, so these are the 3-step process which we will have to follow. Okay, fine. Now assumptions are that we will think that you are working as a fresher, you just joined the startup. Okay, and we will be mentoring you, we'll be explaining you all the project pipelines and everything. Okay, and you will get the real-time experience. That's the step. So again, I explained you that there are 3-step process. Okay, and then there are this many projects, this much experience you will get. Okay, development related operation, which you can see, and then you can contact us any of this number so that we can actually, or better send us an email if you need more information, or go to our website. There is a form, you can type your query and it will come to us. Okay, this is the project diagram anyway that will be shown to you. So this is the main thing which is here. Okay, the what you have to do, the course fee is 19,999, which is in INR. Okay, it is Indian rupee, not USD, not US dollar. Currently we are giving $5,000, 5,000 rupees discount, um, which means it is like 14,999. But then, as an early bird discount, if you join today, okay, we will be giving you 1,000 rupees more, which is discount. So then it will be, finally the fees will be 13,999. Okay, which is like the lowest price, not even $200. Search anywhere with this much of content. If anybody is giving this much, we will match that price. Okay, but then we have already seen multiple institutes, nobody teach this much and this many project diagrams, the real project, and charge this amount. You can search by your own. We already have done our research, and that's why we are keeping this low. Okay, earlier we used to charge 25,000, but then now we have reduced the fees so that we can attract more and more students. And then this will be around 35 hours. That means 2 months of hard work from two faculties will be there, so that we can train you and we can you can start applying for job. Means we can build your career. So for you to understand better what we have done, we want you to register the course with just 1,000 rupees. You can just pay 1,000 rupees. I'll share the link to you all in the Zoom chat, and you can register for the course. This is not even $12. And if you don't like the class for 5 days, 5 days is a buffer period. If you do not like the class, we will refund your money for without asking any question. So this 1,000 rupees you need to pay, which will be deducted from here, and then you can pay the installment. We will allow you 2 installments, okay, because it's a 2-month course. So this is like the most a good part, that we know we are very much confident in our course curriculum. We are very much confident in you that once you complete our projects, you will like the project and you will be continuing the whole thing. Okay, but then you also have to commit to yourself, to us. Whatever we are teaching you, you will have to do those projects. It is not, don't keep that on a like, don't keep those projects, but okay, we'll do later. Nothing is, you will not be getting time to do, because this will be uh, multiple projects will be there. It will take time to do, and it requires motivation. So once we are teaching, do that on the same day. That way you can ask question to us, and we will be able to clarify those things. So this is what I wanted to show you all. Let me show you the link through which you can actually pay this amount. It's a Razor Pay link. I don't have that link where it is. Maybe I'll share that link to all of you. So what you have to do, you just need to click on that link. It's a Razor Pay link. We are an Indian GST registered company. Whatever you are paying, it's like GST bill will be there. So you can be aware that this particular 5 days, we will not ask you any question. If after 5 days you think that, okay, no, I don't want to continue, you can ask for it, send a mail, and we will try to refund you back. But then we know that you will not ask, because you will be continuing with us, because we have done this multiple times. and we know that people like our class. So with this, we'll conclude, okay, and we'll try to give you an opportunity to ask more and more questions so that we can clarify. Let me give unmute access to all.
Jake is asking, like, if it is completely focused on Jenkins. No, you in a DevOps culture, you cannot use only Jenkins. You have to use multiple tools. That is the whole point of using DevOps.
Yeah,
It's a
Sheikh,
culture.
Sheikh,
So all the tools
if
that I've
you,
used, you will be
as I told
using
you, Sheikh,
together.
as I told you, Sheikh, check the curriculum, Sheikh. It's
Okay.
just a link, Sheikh. Rather than asking questions, all this, okay? You are a DevOps engineer, okay? Means if you, or maybe you are working as a some engineer, click a link, okay? And then see, there are so many tools. Why are you saying only focused on Jenkins? No, not
But
Jenkins.
yes, Jenkins will be used overall during the entirety of the course. Once
It's,
that
it's just
Jenkins
one
server is
tool.
used,
It's
it
just
will be
one
used
tool.
continuously.
Correct. It is just one tool. Okay. There are so many things which we are discussing. Why only Jenkins you are talking about? Okay.
Okay.
Let me share the doc on the WhatsApp group. Okay. Then I will share the doc on the WhatsApp group. Um, Sheikh is asking Jenkins. No.
AWS
I'll share.
curriculum not
Sorry.
shown
You
for
want curriculum?
AWS, sir. AWS curriculum.
You want AWS curriculum? We'll share it in the chat.
Okay.
Okay. You can check that. Cool.
I do have a
I'll
question over
share
here.
that. Yeah,
Yes,
go
please
ahead.
go ahead.
Ask your question.
Yes. So daily basis, what we are doing, do we get any tasks or any other project that we have to complete after once we just complete any module over there? So since we will get 30 project, it will be different project, or we will get some other project as well to complete it.
So you will gradually start from something simple. It will be
Okay.
manual, but then gradually. So see, that is why it is divided into minor. When you accumulate all the minor things that you are doing, whatever I will be doing, you will have to replicate it in your own system with your own login. That is your task. That is your assignment. Otherwise, how will you actually say that you have learned the thing unless you do it practically yourself? Okay, so that is automatically the task, whatever I'm going to do on my screen. So my 1 hour of training, instructor-led driven training, this will, on an average, it will take you 2 to 3 hours to understand and implement. Keep that in mind. Okay.
Okay.
So yes, that is automatically the assignment, and you will gradually understand when you will have to keep up with me, because gradually it will keep getting complicated, and because you are going to integrate more and more tools. But first you will do the things manually, but then you will start doing things in an automated manner. You will start writing scripts. So yes, that is how you will actually, it will evolve. Multiple minor projects together will combine to form a major project. Once a major project is done using a particular tool and technology, then you will move on to adding another tool. Adding another tool itself makes it more complex to implement it. But once it is deployed, maintaining it and using it, making changes to it becomes easier. That is the whole point of automation. That is the whole point of CI/CD pipeline. Does
Yes.
that make sense?
Yes, I got it. And second thing is like this capstone project. What exactly it is? Like a domain specific or any?
So, okay, let me answer your question by first understanding what do you mean by domain? In what context are you asking?
Yes, for an example, banking domain. Currently, I'm just working on IoT domain. So, is it like any domain specific
Okay,
or?
so let us compare softwares. You have Amazon.com where you purchase
Yes.
stuff. You have got Zomato, Swiggy. You have got your banking apps. Ultimately, if you break down any software system, it will have 3 tiers. There will be a presentation tier where the user is directly interacting. That can be an app, that can be on the browser. Okay. Then there will be application servers. That is the application tier where the actual business logic is written. And then there will be the database tier. Whatever it is, every software will be broken down into these 3 things only. And they will have to it will be combined, integrated, and it has to work together. But how are you going to provision that? How are you going to deploy it? How are you going to integrate it? That is where DevOps tools are there. All these names that I've used since yesterday, these are the DevOps tools. That is how you are going to do. Okay, it does not matter which domain you are using. Ultimately, it is still going to be a website that is going to open up. Okay, how are you going to do the things in the background? This is not a development course. So the code base, I will give it to you. Okay, we are going to be DevOps engineers or site reliability engineers. It is not our headache to write the code. That is the developer's task. Okay, but after that, once they have given the code and they have pushed it into GitHub, after that, how it is going to get deployed so that the customer is able to actually use the application. That part we will do. So it is domain independent, to be very specific to your question, to answer it very specifically to your question. It does not matter. A DevOps engineer can work in a banking domain, he can work in a retail domain, healthcare domain. It is completely immaterial of that. But yes, every domain will require its own knowledge set. That when you join the company, they will give you a domain-based training, right? Like what the domain is, so nobody can teach you that. That is something that you will face real time. Okay. So if you know how to drive a car, simple analogy, take it like this. It does not matter if you know the traffic rules, if you have a valid driving license, if there is fuel in the car, and if there is a car. What car you are driving does not matter. It can be a Maruti Swift Desire or a Mercedes S-Class or some Lamborghini. It does not matter. The idea is you should know how to drive. So it is, in that sense, in that context, it is domain independent. Clear?
I got it. Thank you.
Cool. Yes, any other questions?
So guys, I have shared the Razorpay link. Just before you ask question, I just share the Razorpay link, which is this link. You will get
Rahul,
this
you
kind
might
of
want to share it on the WhatsApp group, because after the meeting, this is on Zoom chat.
I'll share that. So this is the Razorpay link. Just wanted to show you here. You can just give here the amount, which is just 1,000 rupees you need to give. Okay, this is the full amount now, and you can pay that later. Okay, so this is 7,000 rupees, which is we are thinking you will pay. But then if you want further demo, that okay, I want to enroll, I want to see further, you can pay just 1,000 and enroll for 5 days. And if you do not like the class, within 5 days you need to tell us and we'll refund your money. Okay, because Razorpay will allow us to refund for 5 days. After that, they will not allow us to click on the refund button. Okay, so that is why we are allowing you for 5 days for the amount of refund. Okay, so this is our
Any other queries related to
GST
the
dash
course?
number. Okay.
One more
Related to the
question I
course,
do.
please go ahead.
How different your L2 and L3 courses are? As I can see in the course content, both are same only. So basic and advanced, these both are. What is the difference between?
No, L3 is way more advanced. How come? How do you say? Why are you saying that L3 is the same?
Actually,
in L3 there will be.
Yes.
So do you see Sonar Cube there?
No, I haven't checked.
No, check it properly. L3 is way more advanced. So advanced that is so. We don't even combine these two courses at all, because you can get into the advanced course only when you have done this capstone project. If you have the ability to, if you have completed the capstone project, and when I say completed, I don't mean you are copy pasting my commands. Okay, you will actually have to do this multiple times. Create the entire infrastructure, do it, implement it, successful, delete it, terminate everything. Again, do it. That is how you will get the confidence. Then you know why you are writing a command. What does that command mean? And when there are multiple commands put together, that constitutes a script. So what is the functionality of the script? Okay. So if you simply copy paste my commands, yes, the thing will work if you have done 100% copy paste. But that does not mean you have learned it 100%. So